So it happens. Bronny gets drafted to the Los Angeles Lakers, gets to play with his father, something that, in all honesty, if we're being honest with ourselves, should be congratulated, should be celebrated, and that is something that we should humbly do. But the conversations that has been circulating around this entire topic have been convoluted, disingenuous, and quite frankly, I'm just tired of being lied to.
A couple things that no one ever pretended to care about in the NBA are now hot button issues. The nepotism piece of it. I'm old enough to remember Costas Athanasiou being picks in the 50s or the 60th pick.
Watching Nick Wright try to think he has an I gotcha moment while saying some of the most idiotic, dumb shit imaginable is actually going to irritate me. It's going to irk my soul once more. Out the gate, already lying. When Thanasis was being drafted, nobody thought to themselves, oh my God, the team is drafting Thanasis because they're going to have the ability to go get Giannis. And I'm like, that wasn't the case because Thanasis got drafted literally 1 year after Giannis. Giannis was the 15th overall pick in a draft where nobody didn't think there was any real stars similar to this draft. No one thought highly enough of Giannis to try to play three-dimensional chess with a player that they could have just drafted in the year prior when it came to Thanasis. So now that's a lie. But he's going to continue with more lies.
The value of second-round picks. Day before yesterday, Dylan Jones, the 26th pick of the draft, was traded straight up for 5 second-round picks. Last night, the 52nd pick of the draft was traded for cash. About $2 million. Wire it to me. We'll take some in Bitcoin. That's it. No one cares. And now all of a sudden...
Now, Nick Wright is correct. Normally, no one doesn't care until, with this second-round pick, was getting more media coverage than first-round picks. Yeah, you're right. Most people don't care about second-rounders until it pertains to LeBron. Nick Wright is so disingenuous. He's trying to disrupt the disingenuous convos around here that he's trying to have us believe that it's our fault that we care or people may care about a second-round pick while the media has been covering it for literally months now as if Bronny was a top 3 selection or projected to be top 3 selection in the draft. Y'all were the ones who kept reporting on it as if it was something important. Secondly, Nick Wright, stop acting dumb. You understand how ratings work. It's the reason why 2 years ago you were in your car crashing out complaining about, oh, you guys think I report about Jokic? Look at the ratings. You understand how ratings go? So because that's LeBron James' son, the rating goes up. So y'all are going to report on it more, which also means that more people are going to talk about it as well. But we'll continue with the lies that you'll continue to tell.
People's obvious, transparent dislike or jealousy or whatever of LeBron has colored this whole thing. Because I guarantee you, if in 15 years, Cannon Curry, Steph's youngest, is a fringe NBA prospect, and the Warriors are like, you know what? It's a good story. I think he's a good kid, and he's got a shot. We have him 71st on our board. We'll draft him 58th. The think pieces aren't coming. Instead, people are like, that's awesome. Yeah. That is super dope. This should have been celebrated like that.
And that's something that there's this narrative that's now being pushed by media members that people haven't said anything about nepotism over the last couple of years. Like, y'all never cared about nepotism. Oh my God. Now I'm saying y'all can't. People have been talking about nepotism for decades now. That is not a new talking point. That is not a talking point synonymous with LeBron. Nepotism has been discussed and looked down upon for years now. We know this because literally one of the examples you use in Thanasis, who's on the Bucks, not only gets talked down upon amongst players, in the NBA community, NBA fans make lowlights to laugh at the fact that he doesn't belong in the league. We all accept it. But the biggest form of nepotism that constantly gets criticized all throughout the NBA community is the Lakers, the team that just drafted him. Every single time there's an offseason or there's a trade deadline or there's a draft pick that isn't suffice enough for any critic, the default is, oh, them decision makers out in LA, they don't deserve to be there because they daddy put them in there. Dr. Bustum put them in. They daddy. Y'all been sitting here saying the same thing about the Laker organization for basically the last decade now. So this idea that no one has said anything about nepotism is literally bullshit. It's bullshit.
I haven't heard no one has argued. There has not been a single person out there saying this is totally unrelated. This is just the player they wanted.
Yeah.
And if no one is
Why would somebody say that?
Like the Lakers released their video, and it's like Rob talking
I
to
think they're
Bronny, and
excited about it.
I know, but there was an element,
Performance?
a little bit.
Bronny, everybody's saying this is only for LeBron. We want to celebrate Bronny and make, at least we're going to let him know, we actually want you. We actually care about you as a...
And this right here is the problem where when people sit here and talk about it, part of the reason why it's disingenuous is because the reporting of this has been disingenuous. Because even though what Nick Wright is saying could be true, the reality is that leading up to where we were at the draft is that every report surrounding it, when it comes to Rich Paul and how Woj was reporting it, was this idea of like, oh, LeBron, he's off the idea. He doesn't even want to play with his son. And you know what? Matter of fact, if it happens, it happens. I mean, if it happens organically and he just so happens it ends up on the Lakers, then sure. I mean, but at this point, I mean, LeBron doesn't even want to do it. He doesn't even want it anymore. He doesn't want it.
That, as Rich Paul said to me, if it organically happened, LeBron would be head over heels excited to play with Bronny. But in Rich Paul's words, LeBron wants Bronny to be his own man.
Just for him to be able to fulfill his dream, I sat with him in my office and I said to him, Bronny, what's important to you? You know what he said to me? Man, Rich, I just want to hear my name called. He didn't say I want to go number 1, number 15, number 30. He said, I just want to hear my name called. That is perspective.
So how do you go from it doesn't really matter, we want to happen organically, wherever he goes is where he goes, he just wants to be in the league and here's his name, to literally at the draft, you have him, Rich Paul, calling people not to draft Bronny? How do you go from Woj talking about, oh, it's not that big of a deal, and then at the fucking draft, he's sitting there saying, you know what, man? What does it matter if he does get drafted by his son? It matters because it contradicts everything that you've been reporting for the last, 2 months now.
Stephen A. talks a lot. There's other stuff going on.
Break some news. Stop whining.
Yeah, it sounds like
Exactly. Listen, exactly. Okay, fine. I will say
15 seconds.
Right now, Rich Paul's calling teams, don't take Bronny James. He's telling them, do not take him, okay? He's saying, don't take him. If you take him, he's going to Australia. So he has a plan and he has a place.
But he's not telling the Lakers at 55.
I don't know if he's telling one team that.
Mark Tatum.
So you can't sit here and tell me on one hand that, it's just it's coincidental. Whatever happens, happens. But then when we get to the time where it's drafting, you're forcing your way on this team. And part of the reason why you want to force your way on this team is because you would get a level of job security that you might not get with some other team. Not just because your father plays on the team and they're trying to entice him and they're trying to appeal to him, but more specifically, moreover, the Lakers are also one of the very few teams that probably, especially with a second-round pick, that would have been able to give Bronny a fully guaranteed contract instead of a two-way deal that a lot of players who get selected that late in the draft normally receive.
This is a serious business, and I don't feel like there would be like a thought of I'm just drafting this kid just because of I'm gonna get his dad. Like I don't think a GM would really allow that.
So even if yes, the criticism may be unfair, the level of praise and media attention is also unfair as well for someone who has not provided the evidence that he should get more coverage in first rounders. So yes, some of the criticism is unfair. Hell, a lot of it is. But he's going to benefit so significantly just solely because his father is LeBron James. That's life. It's reality. But to sit here and act like you don't understand where the criticism is coming from, like, bro, give me a fucking break. Let's be for real. But now we're going to get into the real conversation of nepotism. And this is where it gets even more disgusting, because I've never, ever, ever in my life heard anyone try to defend something like nepotism that we all know has a negative connotation around it, especially when people are not qualified. But now, because LeBron is doing it, we're going to try to defend nepotism while also effectively complaining about it when other people do it. fuck?
And so last night, I hear Woj talk about, I don't want to hear anything around nepotism, right?
Neither do I. And by the way, I saw you on Get Up, and I completely agree with you, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's my point I want to bring
Say it to the audience again.
So, Big Perk, I feel as if, first off, I think nepotism has a different definition because I've been in a lot of rooms where I've seen it to people who aren't worthy of the opportunity. And if you're not worthy of the opportunity, then I'm going to get angry about the opportunity you were afforded, but I understand how the game is played. 99.9% of the time, none of those people look like us, Perk. And I think when I saw a lot of this chatter online from people that look like us, I'm like, hold on, don't we need more instances of black nepotism, especially when that person has the disposition and the demeanor of somebody that's worthy of being put in that position.
Okay.
So for my...
Now let me stop before Jay Williams continues to just say some dumb shit. People who are trying to defend nepotism, you all sound dumb. Nepotism in and of itself is not a positive. And even though, yes, in a perfect world, you would like to make sure that the person who benefits from nepotism is qualified, 9 times out of 10, they're not qualified. And you even specifically talking about black people, in particular black men, who probably have been on the wrong side of nepotism more times than not, and then trying to defend it is ridiculous. Let me go ahead and stop this and let everybody know. No, you should not want nepotism. The qualification of the candidate, of the opportunity that is being presented, should supersede everything. Sure, in a perfect world, if both candidates are properly equally qualified and you know, everything aligns and you have to pick which one, someone you know you're related to, associated with versus a stranger, yeah, you for sure pick that. That's not how the world we live in. Even when people make that argument, I can tell respectfully, you niggas have never ran a job. Even when people make that argument respectfully, you niggas have never ran a business. You niggas have never sat down and tried to hire someone, because there's no such fucking thing as candidates who are equally qualified. That's never existed. And even if they are on paper equally qualified, sometimes someone has more experience, sometimes someone lives closer than the other one, sometimes someone just gets along more with other people or has some type of people skills that the other person doesn't have that can make their managerial responsibilities much easier. There are so many things that you would need to go down the list of assessing a quality candidate before you should come to the conclusion, well, you know what, every single last thing is the same. Then I'm going to pick my sister, my cousin, my brother, my aunt, my uncle, my mother, my father. But that doesn't happen. And the people who argue through this lens, I can tell you never hired anybody. You don't run a business.
Let me say something, and I'm going to get a little deep with this. Forgive me. And if it gets to a point where I get personal with it, so be it. It's on me. We live in a country where nepotism has taken place with white folks religiously forever. We've said little to nothing about it. In the NBA specifically, in a league where at least 70% of the players are black, we've seen nepotism with white folks all over the place. Ownership, executive ranks, player personnel, scouting, coaching. The list goes on and on. We've said little to nothing about it.
And that's your fault. That's your fault. Participating in nepotism because other races or other people may participate in it, especially when it's to the detriment of what they're trying to accomplish. And for us to be like, well, at least they did it, well, we can do it too. You sound like a clown. Become qualified, be prepared for it. And I hope that's what Bronny really is. I hope it is. But just accept it and move on. Part of the conversation we're having is that every single time any team that LeBron is on does decisions, and then there's a split in the community of some people acting as if like, well, LeBron ain't nothing doing to it. Oh my God. LeBron, look at the franchise just wasting away his talents, because that's literally what all LeBron James fans right now feel like the Lakers are doing, while not acknowledging any of the influence that LeBron has had on any of the decision making with the Lakers. But now, it's just a great story that he's playing with his son. But you all told me to believe that he had no influence on any decision-making. Before the draft started, you got David Miniman talking about, well, Anthony Davis said he's fine with the pick of Bronny. That's how y'all frame it. And then get upset when people are overly critical on LeBron and the way he tries to shape narratives. Own it. Move on. That's my thoughts. Let me know y'all's in the comment section below. Discussing conversation and dialogue, and I'm going to go down there with y'all if y'all want to continue down this path. But until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace.